Hey folks, I'm Spencer, and on today's festive episode of Cult Mania, we're going to be looking at Sophia Takal's 2019 version of Black Christmas. When it was first released in December of 2019, a year ago at the time of this review, Takal's film was pretty much derided by everyone, garnering loads of awful reviews. It sits at a 3.3 on IMDb, with pretty much everyone taking some sort of grievance with it. Notably, anyone who's a fan of the original Black Christmas, with a lot of people saying, oh my god, I hated the last remake, that one's great compared to this one. So when I saw that this was part of Sky Cinema's Christmas lineup, I was like, well, I've got to check it out, I've got to see what all the fuss is about. And I'm going to be honest, I'm reviewing this as its own film. I'm ignoring that it's called Black Christmas because when this was announced, I was quite excited for it, and I remember reading that it had some really interesting themes, and I'm giving it a shake as its own film. I just want to make that 100% clear.
Hello? Hello?
The film follows a few different groups of sorority sisters, headed up by Riley, played by Imogen Poots. They're at Hawthorne College, it's winter break, nearly everyone's gone home, so the sorority houses are pretty much empty. You've just got a few people left. It's a slasher film. Can you guess where this is going? But, I'll tell you, people start getting picked off. Big surprise. But what is actually surprising is the fact that the third act for this film goes either into very interesting territory, or very, very weird territory, or very, very bad territory, depending on who you speak to. I can imagine where this film decides to go later on, because it is really weird and a bit dumb, was a huge part of why people aren't a fan of this film. But to be honest, I was quite happy to go with it because I'd gone with the film up until this point. Now, I might be saying something that people don't agree with here, but I think that to be a good slasher film, a memorable slasher film, you have to have good characters, and thankfully, Takal and co-writer April Wolf have actually given us some good characters here. I mean, they are pretty much the slasher archetypes. You have the nerdy, quiet, vinyl girl type character, you have the sort of ditzy one, the sort of more aggressive, in this case political one. It's all that sort of stuff, but I actually liked the characters here. I wanted to spend time with them. Even though some of the dialogue is incredibly sort of cheesy and on the nose, I never found anyone to be particularly grating, and this is actually one of the best things about this. It's a film with sorority sisters where they like each other and they're not just bitching at one another the entire time. You know, this isn't Scream Queens, this is people that you actually like.
I'm worried that something bad happened.
It's winter break. Could just be a delay of some sort. Snow.
My friend is missing.
And a huge part of what got me invested in the film was Imogen Poots, because she's really good in this film. I mean, she's got horror pedigree from being in 28 Weeks Later and Green Room, so I think a horror audience are sort of willing to accept her, and she's just really good. She plays every scene sort of pitch perfect, because she's able to look sort of haunted or tired when she needs to, but also able to look badass. There's a bit where she's just walking down the road with a big snow shovel as a weapon, and I was like, she's looking cool. I'll actually say she's one of my favourite sort of horror heroines I've seen in a film in a long time, and that was not something I was expecting to say going into this film, having heard what I had heard. I even forgot that Imogen Poots is 9 years older than me, and she's supposed to be playing a teenager.
There's someone in the house.
Whilst this is a slasher film, it was clearly made with much more of an agenda than just being a straight slasher film. There is, you know, a proper political heart to this film, mainly in two key areas. One, it discusses how university campus life is incredibly sort of patriarchal, how your lectures are, you know, filled with stuffy white dudes telling you about other stuffy white dudes. And it also very much deals with sexual assault on campus. And I do think it deals with one of these themes much better than the other, but that's not to knock its depiction of either. I think when it's discussing the sort of patriarchy of universities, it can be very cheesy, it can be very on notes, especially because it front loads a very there's a scene very early on that is incredibly, like I said, on the nose. You know, the dialogue is a bit like but it's accurate. I mean, it wasn't that long ago I was at uni, and I know I was doing film rather than whatever they're supposed to be learning about, but it was all just old white dudes, quite a few of which were rapists that we learnt about. It is it's a real thing, even if it is on the nose, and how they try to tie it all in with the story is incredibly dumb. But way better regarded films have done equally dumb things to tie the theme of the film in with the plot of the film. So I don't really think that's a massive issue. And I do think the film deals with its campus assault plot lines really well, really sensitively. At least that's what I thought. It manages... This is the key thing for me. The film isn't particularly scary, but those sequences that deal with that, where a character's abuser walks into a room, or when someone opens the door on a situation that is getting very bad very quickly, those sequences are really quite tense. Genuinely sort of got me in a sort of gut reaction sort of way. And I think that's really impressive, especially when, like I said, I wasn't particularly tense through much of the film. It wasn't like my emotion was carrying over from other sequences into those. And I do think they dealt with very tastefully. Now, I have seen, if you go on IMDb, the stuff to do with campus assault, the stuff to do with the fact that dudes can be pretty horrible to women, that is part of why this film has such a low IMDb rating. And I'm going to tackle this in two ways. If you're one of the people that says that this film isn't realistic, I mean, yes, the ending gets very dumb, that isn't realistic, but I mean, the early stuff when they are dealing with real issues, you haven't lived in student accommodation, you haven't seen the sort of attitudes that go around between dudes. Like, just use this as a learning experience. People like this do exist. The way people speak in this film is very, very, very accurate. People can be cartoonishly horrible in real life, okay? And B, if you're one of the people that doesn't want this sort of thing in their films, doesn't want it in their precious little horror films, they don't want to have to think about the real world, grow up or fuck off. Because this stuff is in so many other films where it's not, it's man issues, or it's broad political things. So, of course, women can talk about what women want to talk about. If you're not okay with it, like I said, find the door, get lost. I have to say, while I've sort of grouped those two things into these two topics, they do tie into one another. It is very much about how one leads to the other, how growing up thinking that as a white dude you have all the privilege in the world leads to you treating women like dirt. They're not, whilst you can easily, you could write a thesis on this film on both as separate things, they do tie together and they both feed into the ending, which I know I keep saying is pretty dumb, but it is pretty dumb, but it kind of manages to almost soften the film from being too bleak. I think it's a good thing that the ending is the way it is, because I think this could all have gotten way too heavy. As I've said in earlier parts of this, I don't think the film's horror sections quite live up to its more grounded real world issue sequences. Like, the opening stalking scene is pretty generic. It does fall into the person who is being stalked makes very bad decision that you go, no one in real life would make that decision. Again, it sort of starts effectively, but it falls apart a bit, and a lot of the deaths on screen are very skimped out on. They went for a sort of PG-13 rating in the States. We got it as a 15 over here. Don't really, there isn't much gore. A lot of the deaths happen very quickly. The camera might cut away very quickly. And I think this perhaps did do some harm to the film with a broader horror audience, because you watch slasher films because you want to see the deaths and they're not here. This almost, it works as a bit more of a thriller with a bit more of, it slightly turns into an action movie towards the end. Go into it thinking that, not that you're going to get, big, ridiculous, over-the-top deaths. Because, I did feel tense because I liked the characters. I didn't want people to get hurt. That was where the film got me, rather than in, oh, that death was so cool.
I will bring you to your knees.
Similarly, the film isn't the most visually appealing film I've ever seen. I don't think it really does enough with snow, because it is snowing in scenes and the snow on floor, but it's not particularly oppressive. It's not like it's heaped up. It doesn't look particularly stylized, and it can make some images just look very washed out because you're just looking at a lot of white. It does get used mainly with one key death where the victim sort of they're struggling, they make a snow angel image. That's quite cool. It doesn't do much. The film's visuals come alive a lot more in the second half, where you have scenes where fairy lights are lighting a lot more of the scenes, and it has this sort of really low budget Bava giallo look to it, because it suddenly becomes very colourful and you have characters lit with multicoloured faces. That works really well. You can tell that this wasn't made on a massive budget. The soundtrack is also nothing to write home about. I couldn't remember the main theme even now, and it's only been an hour since I watched it. I kind of wish they'd played into the Christmas idea of it a bit more. I get that the film's a bit more serious in tone, so it might not have worked, but some sort of horror-y renditions of Jingle Bells or something might have just elevated it into that little bit more of a creative zone. But to be honest, the film doesn't do a massive amount with its Christmas setting anyway. It's used much more as an excuse that there's not many people around the college. A lot of the film could easily take place at any point in the year. that gets rid of people from a college. I have to say, I was so pleasantly surprised by this film. I kind of wondered if I'm okay, because I mean, it's not a perfect film by any means, but it isn't terrible. It isn't nearly as bad as some people have made it out to be. I'm sorry, it isn't. It's not even the worst film I've seen in the last 24 hours. I was going in expecting this to be like The Grudge 2020 that I reviewed on here, which is an absolute steaming turd of a film. That has a higher rating on IMDb than this film. This film is far better, without a doubt. And perhaps going in with lowered expectations has helped. Perhaps trying to see it not as Black Christmas, trying to see it as its own film. Perhaps that's why I liked it. But I genuinely just think it's a good film. I got really invested in the characters. That is the thing. It got me because I cared. I was invested because I've seen other films that have dealt with the same politics as this film has, and they've been boring and rubbish. It isn't. I'm not saying it's great because of what it's about. I'm saying I liked it. I liked it a lot. I was about to say in spite of that politics, but that makes it sound like I don't agree. Look, here is the thing. I was invested enough that when there is a scene that is sort of riffing off the sort of scene like the Jingle Bell Rock scene in Mean Girls, it sort of riffs off that, but it's how the sororities just sort of call out the rapey frat boys, and that scene, it sort of got me pumped up, and I ended up smiling when the sort of thrust of that scene happens. I was fully with it. I liked everyone. I cared. It's a good film. And, if you're one of the people who is like, it hates men or whatever, just go away. You don't... I can understand if you don't like the film for other reasons, fair. If that's your reasoning, go away. The film's not made for you. Nothing should be made for you. You don't deserve nice things. You perhaps deserve to be kicked in the head. That's where I sit on that, and if I lose fans because of it, I don't care. I want more films that are willing to do this. Please don't let the fact that the film didn't do well, that it has had such a sort of critical lashing. I want more films made for the teenage female audience that this film was made for, because horror, I don't care what anyone says, it's a genre that is propped up by people who feel alienated, who feel like outsiders, making weird outsider art, and there is a place for everyone in horror, and there is a place for films made for teenage girls in horror, because a good film appeals to everyone. And if we get more films like this, it will become more accepted. It will give rise to so many more interesting films. They went for a PG-13 rating for this film for a reason. It's because it is made for people. It is made for a younger audience, and it is the sort of film that, if seen by the right people, will give us a whole new generation of female horror filmmakers, and that is a great thing, without a doubt. So I want more films like Black Christmas 2019. I may be alone in that, but I don't care. And that is my opinion. Feel free to put your opinions on this film in the comments, as long as you are not going to be a knob, because this channel, it's a safe space to discuss films. Please be nice to one another. It's freaking Christmas, for God's sake. Everyone just be nice to one another. That's my send off. Spend this bit of the year being nice to one another. And I shall see you next time.